Okay, so you know how sometimes you just want to play something awesome, but it feels like there are way too many new games out there? And you're just so confused about what to even try. Well, guess what? We've totally got you covered. We're about to show you 20 seriously awesome games that are just waiting for you. Seriously, we've got everything in this list. Whether you're into crazy action, massive adventures, tricky puzzles, or even just want to kick back and play with your buddies online. So, no more waiting, let's just dive right into the list. There's something really special about Animal Well. It's a puzzle platformer where you're exploring this underground world that's full of secrets, strange creatures, and tricky puzzles, and the game never really tells you what to do. The atmosphere is really cool because it feels both mysterious and peaceful, and it makes you want to keep searching every corner for hidden surprises. The best part is how everything in the game connects in ways you don't expect. But at the same time, some puzzles can be really hard, and since the game doesn't give you hints, you might end up stuck. But if you love games that make you think and explore, it's an amazing experience. I recently played Astrobot, and it's such a charming and fun platformer where you play as Astrobot on a mission to rescue his crew who are scattered across different planets. It's a really joyful game, and it's full of creative level designs and clever gameplay mechanics. The platforming is super tight and responsive. It feels so good to run, jump, and hover around these colorful worlds. I loved collecting all the little Astrobots. They're hidden everywhere, and finding them is a big part of the fun. The game looks fantastic too. It's bright and cheerful, and it really makes great use of the PlayStation features. Honestly, it's hard to find anything I didn't like about this game. Maybe if I had to nitpick, I'd say it's a little on the short side, but it's so consistently enjoyable that it doesn't really matter. It's a perfect game for anyone who loves platformers or just wants a lighthearted and fun experience. Avowed is a fantasy RPG where you explore an epic world, fight enemies with magic and swords, and make choices that actually matter. And honestly, it's got some great things going for it. The combat feels powerful, and switching between weapons and spells is fun, but sometimes it feels like it could be just a little smoother. The world is filled with history, secrets, and cool locations, but there are moments where it feels a little empty, like something's missing. The story has some awesome moments and solid writing, but at times, it doesn't quite hit as hard as you'd expect. It's a strong RPG with some great ideas, and while it's not flawless, it's definitely worth playing if you love deep worlds and big choices.
What do you know of the living lands?
Banisher's Ghost of New Eden is an action-adventure game that mixes ghost hunting with a powerful story about love and sacrifice, and it does a great job of making you feel emotionally connected to the characters. The narrative is really well done, with choices that matter and affect how the story unfolds. The combat is engaging, but it can feel a bit repetitive after a while, which takes away some excitement. However, the atmosphere and visuals are fantastic, creating a haunting and beautiful world. If you're into emotional stories with action, this one's worth a try.
Mark this. He's not just any monkey. He's a monkey of merit.
Black Myth Wukong is an action RPG based on the classic Chinese legend of the Monkey King, and it's absolutely fantastic. The visuals are mind-blowing, the environments are so detailed, and the character models are just stunning. The combat is really deep and challenging. You have to master different techniques and abilities to defeat the various enemies, and it feels so rewarding. I loved exploring the world and discovering all the hidden secrets. The story is really engaging too. It's a great take on the classic tale. Honestly, I don't really have any major complaints. Maybe if I had to nitpick, I'd say some of the boss fights are incredibly difficult, but even that adds to the sense of accomplishment. It's a truly special game, and it's definitely one of the best action RPGs I've played in a long time. Black Ops 6 is a first-person shooter that continues the series' tradition of high-energy action, featuring an exciting campaign and a competitive multiplayer mode. The gunplay is as satisfying as ever, and the graphics are top-notch, really bringing the battlefield to life. The campaign has some great set pieces, but the story doesn't really stand out and feels kind of predictable. Multiplayer is fun with a good mix of maps and weapons, but I did feel like it plays it a bit safe without introducing anything too new. Even with these issues, it's a solid shooter that fans of the series will enjoy. It's one of those games that's easy to pick up but hard to put down. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is a turn-based RPG that follows a powerful story with lots of emotional twists and a good dose of humor. The storytelling is fantastic, with characters that are so well written and funny that you can't help but get attached to them. The combat system is strategic and satisfying, though some battles feel like they drag on a bit too much, which breaks the flow. But the mini-games and side activities are so creative and fun that they make up for it, giving you plenty to do outside of the main quests. If you're into RPGs with a lot of heart and humor, it's definitely worth a try. Marvel Rivals is an action-packed fighting game where you get to play as your favorite Marvel heroes and villains, battling it out in fast-paced, one-on-one fights with cool combos and special abilities. The gameplay is super fun, and the graphics are stunning, making each fight look like a scene straight out of a Marvel movie.
I'll take a shield, sure.
I really enjoyed how each character feels different, and there are so many moves to learn. The only downside is that the story mode is a bit short, and the multiplayer could be better balanced. Even with these small issues, it's a great game to play with friends or solo. It's just one of those games that keeps you coming back for more.
That's 3! Wow, 4 in a row! 5!
Metaphor Refantatio is a really neat RPG where you're unraveling a big mystery in a fantasy world with a cool mix of turn-based combat and some unique twists. The art style is really eye-catching. It's very distinct and gives the game a lot of charm. The combat is strategic and enjoyable. There are loads of different characters you can recruit, and each one has their own special skills, so you can really build your dream team. I had a blast trying out different party combinations and figuring out the best ways to beat the bad guys. The story is also pretty gripping with lots of twists and turns that kept me guessing. If I had to point out a little something, maybe it's that the game can be a bit tough. Sometimes some of the boss fights are pretty challenging, but honestly, that just made it feel even better when I finally won. All in all, it's a great RPG, and if you're into games with a good story, fun combat, and a unique vibe, then you should definitely check it out. Nine Sols is an action platformer set in a world inspired by Asian mythology, and right from the start, the hand-drawn visuals pulled me in with how beautiful and detailed everything looks. The combat is really fun with its mix of sword fighting and deflecting enemy attacks that feel super satisfying when timed right, although some of the platforming sections can be pretty frustrating because they need really precise jumps. And while the story is interesting and adds a lot of depth to the game, it does feel a bit slow in some parts. But overall, if you're into challenging combat and a unique, beautiful world, this game is definitely worth checking out.
So good to see you again. You lost consciousness after awakening to your power.
Persona 3 Reload is a remake of the classic JRPG that mixes dungeon crawling with social simulation, letting you balance fighting shadows at night and building relationships during the day. The updated graphics look fantastic, and the combat feels smoother with some nice quality of life improvements. I loved revisiting the story, which is still one of the best in the series, full of emotional moments and deep character development. But I was a bit disappointed that some content from the original versions was left out, like certain side stories. Still, if you're into JRPGs with a great story and strategic combat, it's definitely worth playing. So I finally got around to playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown last month, and honestly, this game surprised me with how good it is. The combat is super smooth and satisfying, like you really feel every hit, and the platforming is so much fun. Zipping around the world feels great. Exploring the different areas is a treat. They're all so well designed. And the story, while not groundbreaking, is actually pretty engaging. I found myself wanting to know what happened next. Although the game is not perfect, I did run into a few minor glitches here and there. Nothing game-breaking, but a little annoying, and the boss fights, while cool, could be a bit repetitive sometimes. But overall, this game is a fantastic experience. If you're looking for a fun action-adventure game with great combat and exploration, you should definitely check it out. Rise of the Ronin drops you into a really vibrant historical Japan, and it's a huge open-world action experience. The combat is just fantastic. You can switch between different sword styles so easily, and it looks amazing. Though the story can feel a bit cluttered, like it's trying to cram too much in. Exploring the world is a blast, but some of the side quests are a bit repetitive. Still, when you're in a big fight and you're pulling off those awesome sword moves, that's where the game really shines. Honestly, if you love samurai action, this game is definitely worth checking out. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is a dark and intense action game where you play as Senua, a warrior who's battling her own mental health struggles while fighting to save her people. It's a really immersive experience, and the visuals are absolutely stunning. They're so realistic and detailed. The combat is brutal and visceral. It feels very weighty and impactful. I love the way they incorporated Senua's mental state into the gameplay. The voices in her head and the visual hallucinations really add to the atmosphere.
What have you done? Stop.
It's a very emotional game, and it deals with some heavy themes. If I had to mention anything negative, it's that the game can be quite short, and some might find the combat a little repetitive. But overall, it's a powerful and unforgettable experience. It's a game that stays with you long after you've finished it. Silent Hill 2 Remake is a survival horror game that reimagines the classic with stunning graphics and a haunting atmosphere. It stays true to the original story, which is one of the best in horror gaming. I loved how they kept the creepy vibe while updating the visuals to look more realistic. The sound design is fantastic, making every moment feel tense and unsettling. The puzzles are well designed and add to the mystery. My only complaint is that the combat still feels stiff and a bit outdated. But overall, it's a great remake that fans of the series will really appreciate. It's definitely worth playing if you want a chilling experience. Space Marine 2 is all about brutal third-person combat where you play as a space marine fighting hordes of tyrannids. It's a non-stop action game, and it really captures that feeling of being an unstoppable force of nature. The combat is visceral and satisfying. You can chain together melee attacks and ranged weapons, and it all feels really impactful. I loved the variety of weapons and abilities. There's a lot of different ways to customize your playstyle. The game looks great too, the graphics are really impressive, and the environments are detailed. It can get a little repetitive at times. You are fighting a lot of the same enemies over and over again. And sometimes the story missions can feel a little bit linear. But if you're looking for a game where you can just unleash a ton of firepower and smash some bugs, then you'll probably have a good time with this one. It's definitely a fun and action-packed experience. Stalker 2 is this gritty survival game where you explore the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and it's a pretty intense experience. It's an open world, and it's full of dangers from mutated creatures to rival factions, and the atmosphere is just incredible. It's so creepy and immersive. I loved exploring the zone, discovering hidden stashes, and uncovering the secrets of what happened there. The shooting mechanics are solid, and the survival elements, like managing your resources, add a lot to the tension. It can be a tough game though. The zone is a dangerous place and you'll die a lot. And sometimes the game can be a bit buggy. But if you're looking for a challenging and atmospheric survival game, then I definitely recommend it. It's a really unique experience. I gave Stellar Blade a try recently, and as an action RPG, it really shines with its fast-paced combat and gorgeous futuristic world. The gameplay is smooth, and pulling off combos feels great, especially against the challenging bosses that keep you on your toes. The visuals are top-notch, making every fight and every location look amazing. But I did feel like the story was pretty basic, and the characters weren't all that interesting, which was a bit of a letdown. Even with that, the combat and graphics are so well done that it's still a fun experience. It's definitely a solid pick for anyone who loves action-packed games with stunning visuals. If you're looking for exciting combat, this game nails it. Tekken 8 is the latest fighting game in the long-running series, delivering intense one-on-one battles with stunning visuals and a refined combat system. I was really impressed with how fluid and responsive the controls are, making each fight feel fast and satisfying, and the new gameplay mechanics add more depth without being too complicated. The character selection is fantastic, mixing returning favorites with some interesting newcomers, each with unique fighting styles. However, I did feel that the story mode was a bit short and could have been more engaging, but the multiplayer is where this game truly shines, offering a competitive and fun experience.
Time to wake up, Nightingale.
Withering Rooms is a horror adventure game that puts you in a terrifying, ever-changing mansion where you need to solve puzzles and avoid creepy creatures to survive, and I really enjoyed how the game creates this intense, spooky atmosphere with its eerie visuals and haunting sound design, but the controls can feel a bit stiff at times, especially when you're trying to escape from enemies. And while the story is mysterious and keeps you curious, it can be a bit confusing to follow at certain points. But if you're a fan of creepy atmospheric games, this one is definitely worth a playthrough.